Good afternoon and good morning again, and happy Sunday. I think we're finally going to be successful with this video this morning. So, I want to go over Section 8 news. We're going to recap this week. I do this every Sunday to kind of discuss the upcoming topics as well as the ones we've covered through the previous week. It's also a great chance for many of you that have questions about Section 8 housing and affordable housing, low income housing rules and policies. For those that don't know, my name is Jay. I'm the owner of Section8Consultant.com. I've operated around 15 to 16 years on YouTube. I probably have made over 2,000 videos, and I'm trying to make another 2,000 before it's all done and said. So, also, I worked at the federal level for about 26 years with clients. So I can say easily over 20,000 people have been served by either short appointments or through casework. So, all right, guys, thanks again for joining me. First up, let's talk about a little bit of news. I want to do a recap here. I've got some notes because I'm extremely tired on Sunday. Many of you know I've been bouncing between a vet because some of my cats were poisoned. And so we've been dealing with that and then also trying to push out 2 videos a day, right? To keep relevant, we have to make a lot of videos. So, work requirements and time limits. We're under 60 days on that. Congress has taken its pretty time, so they have not argued both parties on this deal. So I suppose they're going to wait till the stroke of midnight to do that. So that we have till October 1st. Of course, I will be gunning to make that video because I am very curious as to how they decide to do this. There are always people that need housing, and there's always going to be low income and middle class, upper middle class, and also the wealthy. That affects even people that are senators. They've got not every family member is independently wealthy, so it's a tough decision to make. And whether or not that comes true or not, or in part or all the way, we don't know. I would surmise that Congress is likely going to have to change some of that because you can't put half the people in America back on the street. We've already attempted that through the Continuum Care program and dealing with the homeless, where we cut off funding, which is a whole nother subject matter, right? So while I'm talking here, I'm going to say a few highs and hellos. And guess what, guys? I've got free memberships to give away. So I'm going to check, and I'm very sure that since I forget about this a lot, I'm going to see if I have any free ones I can give away this morning. If I do, and you'd like one, and you visit our channel frequently, and it makes sense for you to have this, grab it. So let me check real quick and just see if that's available to us. Membership gifting up, and it looks like we've got it. So, if you're interested in free membership, I'm going to give you guys a fair and reasonable chance. I'm going to click the send now button, and then all of a sudden, it's going to appear on the screen as a link. If you're on your phone, TV, whatever it may be, you need to click very quickly. Okay. The stuff goes within seconds. There'll be, when I announce it, it's also going to be a small delay, about 3 seconds before it actually publishes. So if you're ready, we'll count down. And one, two, three, four, and five. And I'm now going to publish this and see what happens. It's thinking more, and there it is. Click, click, click if you want it. One's gone, two's gone, three's gone, four's gone, five's gone. All right, we were successful. All right, let's move on with the topic of the hour, right? So up next is continuum of care funding. So, there's been an argument through court battles all the way almost up to the Supreme Court in regards to whether or not they're going to proceed with 2026 funding. Believe it or not, we're almost out of 2026. We're moving into 2027, and this stuff for funding for the homeless is still locked up. We're talking about 91,000 people, right? So they're hoping to make some decision behind that, but again, that's been tied up and locked up in court battles. So it has to prevail soon, and I would imagine that there'll be some very close parallels for that for probably October 1st as well. Look at them on this HOTMA, HOTMA changes for 2027. So it says here, HUD announced back they need to come in compliance with Section 102, 104, and that will start January 1st, 27. So stroke of midnight, New Year's. Uh, Previous changes for the housing authorities handled as a household income, assets, deductions, annual examinations, interim examinations, self-certification, and eligibility. All will be changing yet again. Guys, when you interpret news here, whether it's my channel or any others, while we're in this administration, the Trump administration, things can change day to day. Okay, information is only reliable for about 24 hours, and then it changes again. At any time, the government can change. Okay. I know this is not what it's always been through every other president, but this president makes very quick changes. And some of this is tied up through Congress because it requires their vote. So just keep that in mind. The subject matter can continually change until it's voted in. Okay. Moving on from there, mixed status households. The administration has made it very clear: if you are not a U.S. citizen or you do not have documentation permitting you to be in this country, you will not be the household will not be keeping that voucher. They do not want anybody in any form to be a non-American or legally in the country, and then also using federal programs. So, if you're still have a household where you've got people that do not belong in the country or for one reason or another, it's a great way to lose your voucher. Okay, so I warn you and caution you before the stroke of midnight, 2027, even before then. You need to discuss that with that family member and tell them they need to make their own reparations. Okay. They're not going to go for that. And also, the housing authority can put a 5-year ban on you in any way, allowing. I wouldn't even have people over for pizza and a Coke unless you know they're legally in this country, because it can be a big problem for you under your leasing agreement and HOP contract. So I'm just warning you, do not play with fire with that. Moving up, 2026 Section 8 voucher funding. It remains the same, but greatly reduced. And the administration's made itself very clear. They're not looking to add any more funding on top of what we already have. We've seen a 20% reduction over 2 years. What little funding they're allowing for Section 8 housing and vouchers is to only keep people that already have it in place. They're not looking to do anything new. But there are lots of housing authorities. I've seen an uptick, to my surprise. There are a lot of housing authorities right now nationwide that have opened up, they're starting to open up their waiting lists. And I think a lot of that has to do is a lot of funding's been tied up a lot the last 2 years. And so we're working off old funding. So there's opportunity out there until that funding is gone. And so it's very unusual to see this. Early summer to late summer, and especially during peak season, where we have this many housing authorities willing to open up and make offers. Though they're not big offers of 30,000 vouchers, in some cases, they're only opening the waiting list, for a handful of people. It's still worth pursuing that. And keep in mind, if you live in the Midwest, plenty of opportunity there. Okay, because they never use all their vouchers. Therefore, we have about 20 states that still have a very good market for that, and a lot of them are opening up their waiting lists, and they're allowing people to apply if you meet the criteria that are requested by that PHA or Public Housing Authority. Jumping over to comments, let's see. I'm going to start back from the top here. Charity Man, good morning. Muskogee Land watching. Infinite Possibilities, good morning to you. Tony Williams, good morning. Now I see you and hear you. I know I have this autism with speakers, man. Look, they on this microphone, there's a button, and so that button just requires a minor touch. And if you that minor touch, just if you graze it with your hand, it's off. And it's burned me on more starts of a video than I can ever imagine. And this morning I made a real effort, and then somehow, and just trying to adjust the microphone, I cut it off, started the video, and then voila, there we go. So I'm not even a senior, but I'm having a lot of those moments, correct? All right, moving on there. Infinite Possibilities. Good morning. Tony Williams, good morning. Now I can see and hear you. Thank you. Preppy Princess. Good morning, Jay. Sunday prayers. Quick update. This has nothing to do with Section 8. So we got little mama back. Pops, these are cats of mine. So 3 or 4 were poisoned. It killed my 26-year-old cat. Uh, my 2 remaining cats are now back home, though they're still unconscious most of the day because they went through organ failure. And so my vet is an amazing lady. She was able to continue to keep them living and breathing. And of course, now they're okay, but there's a long recovery. My cats are no longer acting as they've always acted. They're not acting normal anymore. So we hope that returns sometime soon. All right, moving on from that little old update, MC Guerra, what recourse do I have with a manager that abuses me? I have Section 8. Well, in a matter when you have an issue like that, I need to know a lot more information than that, okay? Because I mean, that's topical the way that you're asking that, and also, trying to review somebody's case in a live platform is probably not a good idea for privacy. I would say to you, reach out to my office. We can discuss your case and see what's going on with it. But I can tell you that a lot of remedies are going to revolve around the use of Title 24, policies, procedures, their administrative plan, and determining whether or not they violated amendments and rights. Okay, so your personal rights, as well as going through arbitration hearings and informal hearings. So it really just depends, but I don't have the capacity to work cases in a live video. Okay. Moving on to Prep Princess. Yay. Thank you very much. Okay. Tony Williams. How and what did you guys click him? I'm not quite sure what that means. Charity Man, what did you guys click? Oh, y'all talking about the free memberships. So apparently the free memberships I gave out previously, or about 10 minutes ago, or 5 minutes ago. Not everybody can see them, and it may have a lot to do with your device. I don't know how most of you are viewing. I think half's TV, other half's on a phone. So, look, YouTube is filled with ads. Therefore, the live chat may actually be covered up by some silly ad. These are not my ads. I mean, they put an epic number of ads on everything. If you're on your phone, you gotta kill about 3 screens just to get to the description of the video. Anyways, moving on there, Susan Wells. Thank you, Earth Angel J. Much appreciated. I'm the farthest thing from an angel. I'm barely cutting the ethical moral carpet of just being here and giving you honest news. Skelly Land, these people are not playing around with this. Of course not. Well, you know what, guys? There's always shitty things to say in the news when it comes to housing. But the good news is we're halfway through this administration. Every major change that can be played on has been that could be played has been played. The only thing left are minor fireworks at this point. So there's not much more you can stack on this deck. We've already cut loose of 90% of the employees of HUD. We've already sold the building. We've already cut the funding to the homeless. We've already cut the budget for people in vouchers. We're already going through a process to consider work requirements and time limits. We've rolled out the shittiest list of things ever for HOTMA and new rules and policies there. So unless they just decide to flip the switch and cut it off all the way, I don't think there's anything else we can add to this shit cake, honestly. So at this point, we wait for the next administration, roughly in 900 days or less, and see whether or not they want to implement any more tactics. So I think we're past the worst part, and that's not even including the investigations nationwide for housing authorities. But I take great delight in that. It's like the government goes, "Oh, well, we just figured out housing authorities are violating people's rights. We just figured out they still have the funding, and a lot of them are just frauds, right?" And I'm thinking, how did it just took you 50 years to fucking figure that out? I mean, at what point were you going to investigate seriously? And then you fire 90% of HUD, so we have no investigators left, right? Except for the fry girl at McDonald's that clocks in at HUD, right? So I don't have a beef with HUD, but honestly, to sit here and watch shit shake down for 50 years and all of a sudden you want to do something about it, well, I guess better late than never, right? But honestly, stop the bullshit with that. Moving on. Wake up in something random. Over 3 days, our landlord gave me an email notice of entrance for inspection 6 times and nobody came. Then she improperly used the BCC and CC field, and email exposes tenant's email. I'm upset. Yeah, I would say so, because that violates conduct and is definitely a matter for OIG to review for professional misconduct. Moving from there, Novice Bell Bridge Boutique. I like your YouTube name, if that was a sign to you. Thank you for your knowledge and support. I try my best, guys. I don't think a lot of you realize how much of a strain is put onto me. I publish to correct the accuracy of the record for Google and AI. I've been publishing 2 videos a day. These are pre-records to cover every conceivable small question out there. Most of those videos are only going to get 300 to 500 views. Why? Because there's a limited number of people that have a very specific question that needs an answer to, and even Google cannot provide it. I'm making over 2,000 videos just for that. And so it's definitely having an impact. I mean, certainly it's evergreen content, meaning that it's good for quite a while, anywhere from a couple of years up to 10. So, but the pace in which I have to roll these out is extremely demanding, even on me. You can see I'm a bit short of patience today, and I've got another to go tonight, but it won't be a live video. For those of you that are regular and visit us often, I recommend for live videos and not niche videos that are pre-records. Visit on Sunday mornings, Tuesday mornings, and Thursday mornings. All of the content I'll be putting out at such a wide scale for all these small things that nobody wants to make videos about something that's not going to make them money. I do because people need answers. Even when we don't have a really big audience for those pre-records, it helps correct things because AI is the mother of all beasts right now. It is putting out information that's simply not relevant. It's pulling off of old stuff, and so I'm trying to correct that record as much as I can. Anyways, wake up and find somebody would dispat impact also be used? I'm not quite sure what you're asking there. Can you rephrase? Hillbilly Herman, hello and good morning to you. Heather Bright. And if you're using voice over it, doesn't show them either. I'll have to look at that. Let's go, Glenn. I'm very lucky to find this place in Upala, be able to port the voucher back to Oklahoma. Are you still doing the battle for Oklahoma? Let me take these glasses off. They have too much refraction. Things are tight. I didn't want to pay for the $400 non-reflection on the eyeglasses because we live in incredible times where you have to decide whether you want to pay your vet bills to keep your cats alive or whether you pay your optometrist the obscene amount he wants. So unfortunately, I just chose not to get non-reflective glasses, and it creates hellish videos for me. So hopefully one day I'll be able to, finance the optometrist and the glasses, right? For now, I'm gonna just take them off. Hopefully, I can see the comments. Tone. Hey, Jay, thank you for the thumbs up, man. Infinite possibilities. What food brand made the cat sick? Blue Buffalo, man. Man, they've got a horrifying reputation for putting out food that kills cats. So but it's the improper storage of it that caused sporous activity in the food that damn near killed every cat I had and managed to do it at such a rapid pace. So, in my opinion, the food's very, very dangerous. Even if it wasn't improperly stored, if you kept it at your home and you got a lot of humidity, I mean, that food for some reason turns deadly very quick. So, that's my public service announcement regarding that company. Moving on from there, man, the comments keep rolling in, guys. Slow down, guys. I have not had coffee this morning. Heather Bright, HUD website is not accessible again. Not surprising. The administration also deemed it necessary to delete 33,000 pages from HUD's website. What we have left on HUD now is more akin to something a YouTube entertainer would have made. It's filled with innuendos and social media shit. There's not a lot of relevant information left on HUD's website anymore. They deleted about 50 years of everything. Yeah, it cleaned it up, but now it appears to be managed by a 20-year-old putting just social shit on there. There's just not a lot of relevant content left. I hate to say it. I mean, it was already on a lifeline HUD's website, but now it's been diminished to just a few hundred pages. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the matter. Haunted secretary. Every year, my public housing authority complex has me come down mid-year and re-sign all leases and paperwork, backdated to the first of the year. They claim they lost their paperwork and HUD is coming. It sounds like they cannot handle or manage their administrative processes, and backdating is not permitted. Okay, so rather than argue the point with them directly, I would just take that issue up privately with HUD if you can find anybody working there anymore, and see whether or not they'd be willing to look into that matter for you. It may constitute a violation of federal rules, depending on what subsection of Title 24 would be, depending on what you find. Moving on there, Novice Boutique. What are the chances of getting a voucher for disabled adult in Northern California? Well, I haven't pulled out my crystal ball yet, but I can tell you when we discuss chances of anything in California, it's usually pretty difficult. It depends on the demand, it depends on where you live, and those two things alone are not sufficient to tell me what the odds might be. I need to know a lot more questions. Normally, when I discuss people's cases, I have about 60 different questions I like to ask and determine geographical area. Since each housing authority operates slightly different, uh, we'd have to determine specific preferences. So, honestly, you probably, if you're in Northern California, you probably have a better chance in the southern part. Okay, but without knowing the total part of your case and being able to ask questions, it's impossible for me to know. So, I'm going to put that as a modest chance right now with such little information. Melissa, if this is the third year of my voucher and there's a 5-star time limit, I don't know that a if it's a time limit is going to be awarded 5 stars, but I think I know what you're saying. Uh, we don't know yet. Okay, so at present, the time limits, this would be, if approved, would be something the housing authority would be left to determine the length. Okay, and it would determine, we don't even know, I don't know a lot about your case. There could be exemptions as well. So let's keep in mind there are exceptions and exemptions to this. So right now you shouldn't worry too much. We'll have a clearer view of this and a definitive answer by October 1st. Um, Lord have mercy. Let's see. There's more comments. Are y'all that deprived of my live conversation that we're gonna hammer me to death in the live chat today? So maybe I ought to have two of them a week, I guess. Uh, each PHA make up their own rules and regulations. Sorry to hear about the KKs. So what you're referring to is each housing authority, public housing authority, files an administrative plan with HUD, determining its policies and procedures. I think that's what you mean to say. And yes, she'd be correct. Also, there is special use vouchers and special use funding, which may be determined by the local community and what's required there. So, there's an exceptional amount of information that can be differentiated between each PHA. So, I appreciate you bringing that up, and I believe that that was the intent of what you were trying to say. Wake up, Panda, something. Desperate impact, a thing, and not a typo. Yeah, either I've got dyslexia, guys, or y'all writing some. Y'all got to start spell checking or something in here because these comments are getting twisty. Gold Bond 3. I would like to move back home due to health, but where I am, they are not willing to port me out. My voucher came from back home. Well, portability has been a big issue this year. Housing authorities have an absolute right to deny portability and have done so a lot this year because of lack of funding. And they don't need a reason other than that. But that's starting to loosen up. We're now rolling into a different year's budget and portability is starting to work again. You're not denying it as much. We just, the government and the administration tied a lot of that up in court. A lot of that's starting to loosen up now, and portability is becoming possible. But let me be very clear, guys. We, out of all times of the year that you consider these things, portability. I mean, we're in peak season, summer. That's June, July, and August. June, July, and August is when every single person that has any involvement in government programs, housing, and vouchers all want to do everything during those 3 months. They don't want to do this shit during November and December. They don't want to do it in January, February, and March. Everybody wants to do it right now. And so this would be a lot better addressing portability, in my opinion, starting in September when nobody's interested. The peak demand goes down, and you're able to do it much better. Trying to conduct your business when everybody else is doing it is a bad idea. That's how you end up at the DMV in a long line. No matter what time of day it is. So everybody is in a hurry to get nowhere right now. That's what you're doing. You're going to burn the car. You're going to burn the gas out your car, and not get anywhere. A lot of you guys need to hold off till about September. Let all the other people that want to do this shit all at the same time, and then wait till then. Okay, I think it will work. I think portability will work well. Oh, I got a UNC alert. Well, thank you very much. I don't mean to be so brutal, but honestly, guys, when you're tired and it's Sunday, I'm doing my best here to try to keep the decorum, but I'm struggling. Keep in mind the number of videos and as much as I've been through this week. Jacqueline, hello, Jay and Kitties. Thank you for the information. Most welcome. Julia, I want one. Well, who doesn't? Everybody wants a voucher. We all, when you remember when you're little, we ask you go tell your mommy, I would like a Section 8 voucher in my stocking. Look, everybody wants these things, but look, the government ain't, they're not wanting to give them out a lot of them right now. So, And I was only joking. Nobody wishes for that. Just like when I was young, I didn't go and run to my mother, hey, I would love to become a Section 8 consultant. That way, I'll never make a lot of money, and my aspirations and dreams will be washed down to a toilet while I deal with people, while I try to fix other people's problems, right? Because no parent wants to hear that shit. You don't want to be a doctor. You want to be a Section 8 consultant. Do you have a loose screw, Jay? What's wrong with you? Why do you want to do this? You do realize you're going to mess your life up. You will never succeed in making lots of money doing it that way. So, needless to say, I didn't tell my mother what I was going to be in life. I simply arrived there, and here I am, and I enjoy it. So, Julia, okay, Muscatine, the and these comments jump around so fast. I'm having a hard time keeping up. The place is $150 cheaper in Oklahoma. I need to figure out why New Mexico has been taking 200 out of my disability. Well, you need your rent calculations and determinations to see, and it has a lot to do with income reporting. And then, of course, changes at the federal level, which may affect that. If you're still struggling with that, reach out to my office. You know what to do. Dora, I had that happen to my hamster years ago. The food in the container contaminated from the pet store, bugs and killer and killed your hamster. I'm sorry to hear that. You have to be mindful. Corporations and pets don't mix. We use it as a luxury to go and buy food and different things. Uh, and lots of things go wrong with that. Imminent possibilities. I've heard about Blue Buffalo having recalls. That company needs to be closed, frankly. I mean, that's my personal shared opinion. But I mean, there's more comments about that company on Amazon and other places where people is killing astronomical number of pets. And they're talking about all this nature and I don't know. You'd be better off eating the trash out of all the other garbage companies that make the food, but Blue Buffalo is especially bad. What's strange about it is they're preaching that their food's so great. It was probably the reason that I lost money earlier this year. My disabled cat, that died a really horrific death. Is probably the reason why. So that food's been banned from my home. I didn't even throw it out with the chickens because I'm concerned it killed them too. So I no longer purchase that shit. Anyways, moving on. Melissa, thank you for the year. I meant year. All right. Jacqueline, I'll be so glad when the decision is made. Look, we'll all be glad because I'm tired of talking about it. You guys are tired of hearing about work requirements and time limits. Imagine how many other people on YouTube right now talk about re-rinsing the same old bullshit on their videos. I'm sick of it too. I mean, I wish the government would just tell us, you know, are we going to be running a labor hole with vouchers in it? Is that what we're doing now? You know, so I mean, the quicker we move along with this, the better. We don't. It's like Congress. Congress sits there. They make a decision, but then there's three more processes they got to go through. So they'll vacation the Bahamas, get drunk out there on the beach, come back, and then they'll do another process. And then they'll reward themselves with more fucking vacations and then come back and do some more. Nothing. How do we prove that? Well, look at November last year. They went on a 43-day vacation. Is anybody here commenting from a fucking cruise ship? Is anybody here got a purse full of money? How is it the only people that can afford vacations are congressmen? So here we are. I digress. V Rolla. Good morning, Jay. I'm learning so much. If I do get a voucher, how do I convince my new landlord to accept it? Well, that's like asking the jailer to let you out, right? Look, you want to convince your landlord of that you're going to talk about the perks, the bonuses, and the whistles with it. So you want I would tell your landlord that I would provide him with easy information to understand how to sign up and become a Section 8 landlord. And two, tell him that the government ATM always works. Even through pandemics, the rent will always be paid. It was a big selling point after the pandemic when people had jobs, lost their job, but guess who kept paying rent? HUD. And so a lot of landlords transitioned over to considering Section 8 because they learned through the pandemic that the old job, working that old job, could come to an end. But Uncle Sam always cuts that money for the voucher. And so that's a selling point. It'll last through any pandemic. It even lasts through a nuclear blast. The government will always do its check. It will pay. So that's a selling point. There's a lot of shit that ain't a selling point. Try to avoid that with the landlord. Okay. Main thing is they're going to get their money, and you're not going to be a problem. And just keep it honest. Sharika sent UNC an alert for 440 jewels. Oh, well, thank you. I forgot about that. I need to investigate what these jewels are. Moving on from there. Wedge back up 22. I was offered a mainstream voucher, 2 of 26. I lost my house, didn't get the letter. Well, let's see. 2 of 26. You got time to appeal that. You should reach out to my office. Don't let that go. Okay. Lots of times housing authorities don't give fair or practical notice. They'll mail that letter or notification to some address that never existed, and they'll claim they did. You could fight that and probably recover it. Heather Bright, try to get a fancy feast. It's really, really good. Well, I got fancy cats. So let me give you an example of a protest in my house. I went and bought different kinds of cat food, right? They'll sit there for 4 days, okay, and pander me, just like somebody at the light trying with a loose change cup. And they won't eat the shit on the plate. They will sit there and try to starve and never think you can outlast a cat's attempt to not eat something. You can go 4 or 5 days. I watched Gracie go for a week. She'd go over there and she'd crunch on the cheapest shit we had so she could guilt me. She would not eat all the fancy food that I bought, right? And so never underestimate your cat's inability to protest. They'll do it and their ribs will be showing. Not that my cats ever reached that point, but look, if they turn their nose up to it, it's game and match. So, yeah, got you on that one. We've tried Fancy Feast. It works for 2 out of 4 cats. If it were up to all my cats, we would have 18 different cat foods, 13 different treats. They'd want it at different hours. You know how that game works, right? I'm running a fucking soup kitchen. But those are my cats. I love them. So I do the calisthenics to go down to all the different stores required to get all the magic shit they need. That is the life I lived. It's still simpler than having real kids, right? Wedge back up. Let's move on. Here, Heather Bright trying to get Pants Peace. Wake up and panda something. Bad seeds possibly killed my pet cockatiel. I'm sorry to hear that. I hear those are also very loud birds, so you must have an extreme ability to really enjoy that. I don't know I could ever have a live bird. I would probably have a psychiatric moment. Too much chatter from me, right? My cats don't do much talking. Well, one does. And so it had it for 19 years. I bet you do miss your bird. I'm sorry to hear that. Moving on from there, Viva La. Thank you for making me laugh today. I had to put a little bit of humor in today's video because I just don't feel like being Barbara Walters today. So if my profanities or otherwise hair-raising topics offend you, then I would advise gassing up your car and driving straight off a bridge because I ain't got time for it today, honestly. Must land. These stupid ads and live chats are killing me. I know. They're running so many ads on YouTube. They're running ads within ads, right? It's just crazy. I could barely even get y'all to the information you need for those of you that require reading it rather than hearing it, because you have to click out 8 different ads and read a description. How many of you even actually reach the description of my videos? You know, I put up ads and links and different things, and they cover all that shit up, nothing but ads, where people selling fake vitamins and every other holistic screwball idea of an ad. People, Timu wigs for 99 cents. Anybody need a Timu wig for a nickel? They're selling those. There's ads everywhere. So, anyways, backing it up, Kayla, was the cat food wet or dry? It was dry food, but I mean, even with a little bit of moisture, humidity, it turns into a chemical weapon for your animals, and within a day or two, can kill them. So, why even make cat food like that? Uh, Moving back to the topic of Section 8, my cat meowed for snacks at 2 a.m. I've got a cat. I got you beat, brother. Look, let me tell you something about my cats. They'll run out in a thunderstorm, 2, 3 in the morning, come back, and then wet muffin will trample all over the bed, fuck it up. It's like sleeping in a sandbox. Anybody go down to Papa's, get you a 10 piece, chomp all that down. You get all the crumbs in the bed, right? Like you're sleeping on gravel. That's my cats. They go out there and catch shit, and you wake up and you got sand in your hair. Okay, you got wet muffin prints on everything. There's nothing sacred in here, okay? All my everything that I own, even the screen behind me, you can't see it, but they have ripped and shredded that as well. So there's no inheriting. I'm running a fucking dollar store. There'll be nothing to inherit. People gonna walk in after I die and go, what's wrong with this guy? Why is all his shit tore up? Nothing's worth anything anymore. What they haven't got, if you get within about 5 inches of somebody's either pissed or pooed on it. So nothing's sacred. It's the cats or nothing else. So I feel we should just move into a monastery. Anyway, I'm getting on that tear and that rant. We're gonna get on it today. Bad. Robert Werner, I'm disabled, single male in Arlington, Texas. Do you think I can get a Section 8 housing? Well, I think that yes. I think if you have the right case, the merits in your case are appropriate and you have the preferences in place. But honestly, Robert, without speaking with you and going through your entire case, it would be hard for me to determine how well you would qualify and whether you'd be wasting an extravagant amount of time and would wait for decades, or whether you have a rather compelling case that actually matches the preferences in their administrative plan, which would allow you a quick and more victorious ability to get that voucher. So I would say reach out to my office. Doris Spencer, yes, cats are picky and cats now, not a hamster, even strays, feed, will walk. Oh, yeah, of course. I'm running a fine dining kitchen here. I mean, they reject everything. I'm the chef. I put it out, and despite 3 days of hunger, they'll turn their nose up. And it's nothing better to have a psychiatric moment in your own house. And yeah, that previous comment, I get woke up all the time. Cats run up on my chest, howling in the middle of the night. Okay, this ain't fucking McDonald's. We're not serving breakfast 3 in the morning. So you need to march off the bed and get control of yourself. Come back. Their normal fucking business hours because I'm not Waffle House. I'm not serving cat food at 3 in the morning. I got cats that believe I do, but look, I'm about to put up store hours. We're not running Waffle House 3 in the morning. I'm serious. Moving on from there, Sean. I ain't one. Well, I agree with you. I ain't one either. Wake up says, I got a letter from SSA recently, and they referred an earlier letter I never got. Well, that's standard policy. The housing authority changes everybody's address by one letter, one zip code number, and they mail that fucking letter to nowhere. And you know how many calls I get about this? People like, oh, I want a voucher. Then a week later, they send out a magic notice that nobody got, and then all of a sudden they're empty handed in tears. This is nothing new. Half my business is about missing vouchers and lies and deceit from the housing authority. I think they sit around the boardroom. They meet early in the morning. They crack the door at 8. They go in there. Okay, here's how we're going to save money this year. We need to make more money on our paycheck. So what we're going to do is we're all going to agree to go in there and change everybody's addresses by a number two. We're going to wipe out half of. We're just going to tell them, oh, so sorry. Uh, you're not getting a voucher this year. We gave you 30 minutes notice. You weren't in the office, therefore you're gone. I mean that comically, but honestly, it's such a big problem, right? And so I always tell people, look, always request an accommodation to require the housing authority to send notification by email. That way they can't lie to you because there's no way this many housing authorities fail to mail a letter. And that's double bubble because they know who to mail it through if you really want to lose a letter. All you got to do is pay USPS to do anything. And you got a 50-50 chance you're going to get your mail, right? So if you don't get burned by the housing authority, UPS will be sure your odds went you got casino odds to get that letter at that point. You got a 50% chance from the housing authority that they're ever going to mail it to your real address. And you've only got a 3% chance USPS will ever fucking deliver it. And if they do, it's going to be with an attitude. They might throw you a letter in the lawn, right? Anybody been to the post office lately? Ain't nobody doing prayer circles in there. You're looking at people like they're mad at life. Moving on from there, wake up and find somebody. Moving on, Hillbilly Hermit. Jay, sorry, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm sorry, guys. It's like stand up hour this today because I'm just so tired that I don't feel like being no decorum. I've not had a drink or anything, but I feel like I'm sitting in a bar because I'm just tired, man. Clock. Great haircut, sir. You look marvelous. I need another trim. I need another trim. All that gray hair. I'm okay with that. It just means this old bottle of wine is starting to become vintage. Anybody wants some vintage wine? I I come with 4 cats And they're not easygoing cats. These are complicated. They're like little 20-year-olds with an attitude. Okay. You don't necessarily want my cats. If you do, you're going to need a prescription from the psychiatrist. Let's go, Land. Thank you, Jay, for this information. Most welcome. Wedge back up. Exactly. They know damn well they can email you. Yeah, they do. But guess what? Easiest way to rig the budget is mail everybody's notice to the last address they have on file from 30 years ago, right? So that's how the game works. I got to tell you, if you're going to play a rigged game, you better play to win. Otherwise, you're going to be the bag holder because you're not going to be receiving any voucher or notice. This is a big problem. That's why I'd be glad when they roll out through housing authorities to handle notices because it's just a wild game at this point. And it works favorably for them. I'm telling you, it's casino odds getting these notices. Laura, I love the satire and the comedy. I felt like it today. It's a Sunday. It's my Sunday video. I try to have a little fun with it. In the beginning, if my application for Social Security, they did the same thing. I was denied in a letter and sent to an early address. So typical of housing authorities. I think they just randomly open up a telephone book and just point at an address and mail it off. Honestly, I've never been to get a straight answer. I've even hired former housing authority employers, and I've hired at least two former directors of housing authorities. And even they still struggle to tell the truth to me, working in my own office. They won't tell me what really goes on, why they continue to do that bullshit. But I believe that more than it is an attempt to screw people, I think a lot of it's mismanagement and old software where they just don't want to expend the extra energy to verify the addresses they're sending it to, and they audit their software automatically defaults to old addresses. And then they can argue, well, when you signed up, you agreed to follow the terms of the rule and to give this current address. But a lot of that never gets updated. Therefore, man, about over half the people that should get notices never ever get them. And then you end up by default purged from waiting list, losing your voucher, failing to comply on the HUD contract, all because of a single paragraph they put in the rules and policies that pretty much let them act with impunity. So it's a rather serious issue that needs to be addressed. Housing authorities don't need loopholes. They need to be held fucking accountable for their activities. Okay. The impact of addressing people that actually need this so desperately, you know, we're in a circumstance where it becomes more profound for people. This is not a joke. It must be taken seriously. Moving on down, Stephanie, I'm disabled female. The housing authority raised my rent a year and a half. My daughter is moving out. It's now 60% of my income. I'm stuck in this apartment now because there's absolutely no way. Well, it may be worth your time to investigate, you know, the income status and how am I calculating that. Do you know out of all cases over 26 years I've worked that it dealt with calculations for housing vouchers, there's about 60% or more we were able to establish and prove very quickly that the workers were miscalculating or the software were miscalculating. By the time we pulled the records and did an audit, they were nowhere near it. But you guys arbitrarily let them have it because y'all don't argue nothing. Y'all don't go back. Y'all don't do informal hearings. And I don't blame you because you don't know formal process for it. And the housing authority isn't going to hold a work camp there to teach you how to actually get them in trouble. So therefore, you're left to relegate it to your own ideas or the partial ideas that Google gives you by answer or the wildly inaccurate information AI tends to give out. And don't get me wrong, AI is really accurate about a lot of things, but Section 8 housing, no. In fact, it often references my own videos back to me. It cannibalizes me that tries to feed me my own fucking information. So that alone tells me we have a problem of lack of information out there that's accurate and to date. Moving on back. So moving on, Stephanie. Let's see, Brenda. Yep, know all too well about that. Stun the mailing on your old address. People must know everything, the city, town, everything in the PHA office, city or town. You know, one of the number one things a lot of you guys can do to help create less problems is request a very simple accommodation that does not exceed any administrative burden to them and request only email communications will solve 60% of the problem. And housing authorities know that. And why they won't do it, I don't know. Okay. Stephanie, save money move. Can I request an adjustment for hardship? That's hard to answer. Yes, you could, but I need to know a lot more to determine whether or not you can request a hardship on an actual factual basis of what's entitled 24. Let's see, Wedge, backup 22. What are your office hours, Jay? Oh, I keep elderly hours here, man. Look, I work almost every day. Uh, Typically, you'll find you can contact me throughout the day from about 8 a.m. to about 3 p.m. I'll become more resistant as we get to 5, but I've been known to work with people as late as 8 o'clock in the night if I get bored. If my farm bill isn't working on my tablet, right, and then somebody calls, but my office is generally by appointment. I don't. I'm not government funded. I'm a private solution, obviously, as a company, so I don't necessarily work for free. That'd be like me inviting you, myself, into your house and saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm here for dinner. Will you be paying?" So I'm an expensive solution, packed with 26 years of information. So it's quite useful when you can't get the kind of information you need. So let's see, moving on from there. Doris Spencer, you got that right. I work as a support person in Baltimore for people with intellectual disabilities. I have clients that receive funding for support. I'm at a, and then it ends. You didn't say the rest. I appreciate your efforts to help those people in the world we live in today, so few want to help, you know? And so that becomes a very big material problem. Our country's filled with people that need help but can't get it. The government's really not offering it. Look at the options you guys have. You can call HUD if they ever answer the phone. You can call the housing authority, but you'll get an attitude. And after about 2 minutes of conversation, they'll hang up. That's all the solution they're offering. And then you're relegated to places like 211 and 311, the free information line where you have a homeless person behind a keyboard looking shit up on Google. Okay, is that a solution? And so for most of you, the only way to get real answers are to companies like mine, and there aren't that many of me because most people don't want to do my job. It doesn't pay very well. So, I make thousands of videos to educate and teach, and then offer solutions to people that want private appointments. We talk for about 20 minutes, uh, and then I work through probably hundreds of cases every year. And I also work with landlords and private investors, several hundred a year. But it's a solution to the problem that many of you have. But we live in tough times. Not everybody has a little bit of extra money to go through that. So I have to balance things because I'm not a nonprofit. I don't receive a one red nickel from the government, and I wouldn't want the government telling me what to do as a company. So I deliver the message the way I feel fit and on the basis of working cases. Moving on from there, door number 9. Well, thank you for the number 9. Clock it TB. What's the difference on them absorbing and billing? A really good example is, let's imagine Los Angeles and New York. Okay, so let's say you live in Los Angeles and you want to initiate portability, and you reach out to New York, and New York goes, "Look, we're going to send a bill back. You move here. Importing means move to New York. Then we're going to make the city of Los Angeles pay for your voucher by billing the first year only. After that 1 year, and you've demonstrated you can act properly in the state of New York or the city of New York, then we will switch over that billing back to LA to absorbing. We will absorb you, and we'll no longer send a bill back to LA. As simple as that. Simple math, deductive math. And so you'll find that most housing authorities through portability only want to do billing the first year. That's to see if it's going to work out. And then after that first year, they go, you know what? Go ahead and kill that voucher you got out in LA. We'll go ahead and absorb you under our budget. So the billing is wherever you go, the billing starts with where you were, but after a year, the new housing authority you move to is willing to fit you in their budget. A lot of that also has to do with the way that housing authorities have to file their administrative plans. So they have to plan accordingly for the budget. They can't just have random people around the country moving there without accounting for those costs and then filing those administrative plans and budgets with HUD. And so that's why it is. So you see the administrative process behind all this, not just merely the knowledge of billing and absorbing. Moving on from there, now that we've gotten that nice Mr. Rogers explanations, right? All I have left to do is take my shoes off and talk to the train. Moving on, Laura. Yeah, my daughter has an intellectual disabilities, and I have a very hard time trying to advocate for her. I don't know who to contact and to help her. You don't have a lot of options. You've got HUD, you got the Housing Authority 211, 311, and you got private solutions like me. You try the first three; those don't work. Then, like I tell people, once you try every possible solution on your own and it hasn't yielded a result, then maybe you need to look at the private market. There's at least 4 or 5 companies like mine out there that are relatively inexpensive. I would say consult with them. Yeah, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, less than 100, less than 50 probably, but if it meets the requirement to help you move on with your case, then do that. If you don't have time to deal with all this and it requires more energy than you can mentally or physically give, then turn the case over to a company. Lots of companies offer casework for as little as $500 and will work you all the way through the problem you're having and then bring you up to speed on federal code and policy. If you don't want to do those things, then, well, to be frank with you, you're probably fucked. It ain't going to happen anytime near future. The government doesn't offer a lot of amazing resources in terms of educating and teaching people. It doesn't have the time. Congress is not going to approve budgets for that. Therefore, you're on your own. Um, I've done the best I can, obviously, publishing thousands of videos, but hand holding all that time requires something. Starts with money, right? Because nobody's going to want to do all that stuff. You can get caseworkers at homeless shelters, but they look, you're talking about people that barely got their GD out the bubblegum machine. They have no practical casework experience and they cannot produce a result. And that's when they give you that once a month visit for 15 minutes. Do you think that's going to create a solution? Now, depending on disabilities, you may be a veteran or other senior. There may be some stuff through community can be served through the state level or county level, but even that's going to require some investigation to see whether or not they can pick up your case and whether or not there's resources in place to handle that. So I'm not trying to make it difficult or dissuade you. What I'm trying to say is this requires a little bit more investigation and thought than simply merely believing that there's nothing for you. Yeah, there is, but you're going to have to put an equal measure of your time and effort and misery to return a result that's going to be meaningful. There's no driving through the housing authority for a quick voucher. There's no doing casework. Well, let me just do some quick casework and it'll resolve me of all my problems. I know you guys know that. So I'm not trying to harass you intellectually. What I'm saying is, you want a pound of flesh from the government, it's going to want a pound of flesh from your ass. It ain't just giving things out. It ain't going to do anything quickly. You want to force a square through a circle, then you're going to have to work your ass off to do it or find somebody you can pay to do it for you. That's reality. If anybody else can produce a result another way, please tell me. I have not yet seen that yield itself over my 26 years. All right, moving on from there. We're going to close the video out because I'm getting tired here. I don't want to be Rush Limbaugh and sit here and talk all day. All right. So mode on there. Wake up and find somebody. Dispat impact. Trump removed the ability to be able to sue under it. 2, 3 levels. FHA, SEC could not be removed. I don't agree or disagree, but I do thank you for your comment. So I'm not going to get anything politically motivated or charged today. I got my own shit to deal with. Trump's at the bottom of my list of things that I'm concerned with. This it's adversity is adversity. Life is life. It's going to happen whether you voted in or not. All right, moving on from there. Lick Williams. Hey Jay and chat. Well, thank you. You're a late arriver. I might start charging you cover. Clock It TV, RIP. Recently doing research, was told that if I try porting out of the recent PHA, I have to be absorbing because the original PHAs are having a budget issues and will not pay the port out. That's exactly what I was describing. So thank you for kind of confirming what we've already been discussing. But yes, you have 100% agreement on my part. That is a wildly accurate statement. Laura, I'll pay you. Well, I'm not into prostitution, honey, but if you want to pay me, go ahead. But I do offer appointments, and I was just joking about that. All right, Cloggett, have a great rest of your day, Jay. Be safe. And Rapture, ready now. I like that name. Serious business, right? I'm on Spectrum, and daughter's on Spectrum, and our house has mold, and I have autoimmune disorder, very sick, and we cannot find any help. Well, then it means you're looking in the wrong places. There's some help. It ain't much, but there's help out there. There are private solutions, and there's the old war zone, right? You call 211, 311 HUD in the housing authority. If they can't offer anything meaningful other than the sound of their voice, then move on to a private solution. There are consultants that can help you. I've never run into a case that I only about 3% of the cases I ever worked result in nothing. Okay. So clearly there are solutions, but not everybody can either go through them, survive them, deal with the adversity, or can afford them if it's a private solution. Not that all this stuff's that expensive, but time is time. Okay. When I walk in a grocery store and I pay $8 for grapes, I got to pay for that somehow. Moving on from there. Laura, thank you for the laughing emojis. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Look at that. I've already broken my glasses. So my optometrist, I'm sure he's going to love that. That'll be at least $400. I might have to go. I'm going to have to put my cats at the red light with a change cup because we can't even afford decent care anymore. Can't afford anything in the grocery store. You got to go to the gas station, and I don't even put the pump on auto anymore. I want to watch every fucking nickel roll in the dial. I want to confirm the gasoline is going in the gas tank. Seriously. So times are tough. People ain't got no money these days. You know, the grocery store wants $58 per bag of chips. Hell, even the prostitute at the red light, she's accepting credit cards now. Even she realizes that shit's tough. So, she lost a change cup. She's processing credit cards in her bra strap. So shit's tough. Look, if the local hooker's got a credit card reader, then we know shit's bad around here. So I'm just letting you know. Don't be surprised if your credit ain't up to par. Sally ain't gonna spin around the light pole. All right, guys. So with all the comedy, I'm gonna drop it from there. I've enjoyed talking with you. Tonight will be a pre-record, a methodical one. If it's something that interests you, go see it, like it, do it all you got to do. Otherwise, our next live will be Tuesday morning. That live will be with Decorum. I only get spicy and off topic on my Sundays, usually. All right. Enjoyed it, guys. Enjoy what's left of your weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday. All right. Bye for now.